before they would ever have to roll it back to the assembly building and then likely recharge things, have to go do some testing and stuff. So unlike Artemis 1, they've got a little bit more leeway to leave it out there. But James and I were talking, and Alex, you could chime in on this. With this Arctic blast that we had, there's this concern, like, did the cold temperatures have some type of impact on the rocket? And will that cause the delays to be further? Because we didn't talk much about this, but they had Arctic air all the way down to South Florida. They had freeze warnings. I was looking at blueberry crops today that got damaged. They even had snow in Tampa. I could not believe that was the craziest thing I ever saw.
I was going to say snow in Tampa. Yeah.
You don't see that very often, but it kind of shows you how big this cold air mass was that came in behind our storm, and it really kind of, impacted the whole southeast. Iguanas falling out of trees. If I see another iguana meme, I'm going to be really, I'm going to throw up. They've been everywhere, but it does go to show you, and it'll be curious to see how the weather plays a big part in this. Because as we know, we had tragedy because of cold weather before with launches. Icicles formed, and that actually was one of the things that caused issues. So that's something we're going to be watching. I don't know if you're a big space person, Alex, but are you excited for Artemis 2? What is your thoughts on this as we get ready for the first launch window?
I think going back to the moon is awesome. Yeah. It's been a long time since we've been there, and so the fact that we're getting ready to do another mission and to learn something, learn more, maybe take in some more information about the lunar's effect, the moon's effect, the lunar effects on the Earth, like our tides. And if we're talking about tides, we're talking about what Highway 12 is dealing with in the coastal Carolinas. Unfortunately, this system also occurred, as you mentioned earlier, this week with a full moon. So the moon's impact is important on the Earth, and maybe how far do they go with this dress rehearsal? I know they're not going to ignite anything, but like how are they? What are they checking as they're going through this dress rehearsal?
So the goal is to completely fuel the rocket fully, like they were going to launch, and it's basically to test for leaks and make sure everything is working. And then they can defuel it, because obviously you don't want to leave some of this stuff fueled up because it's literally a bomb sitting on the launch pad. But yeah, I'm excited too because it's 2026, Alex, and we have HD TV now, and we have all these ways to view it, unlike we did in the 60s and 70s. So I think from that standpoint, the visual part of this and social media, that everybody gets to see this happen, is going to be really cool. We're going to be talking more about this throughout the week because that window comes up this weekend. But stick around. We're done for live weather now, but we'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovan. Thank you for joining us this evening. So we want to start in the Washington, D.C. area. This is a trial we've been covering for weeks at this point, the Au Pair Affair murder trial. So here's what we got, the latest. Former IRS officer Brendan Banfield was found guilty in the murders of his wife, Christine Banfield, and a stranger, Joseph Ryan, after a bombshell trial, again, that we've been following for weeks now, that brought some intense focus to this tragedy that happened inside that Fairfax County home there in Virginia. So we want to take you now to the reading of that verdict, along with coverage from our content partner, WUSA in Washington, D.C. Let's take a listen here.
When he will appear back in court.
Right.
So we have some details about Brendan Banfield. We've been talking about what happens to Juliana Magalhaes. What does she get as a result of this?
Well, so as part of her plea agreement, the terms of that plea agreement, she will get time served.
Okay.
But she still has to have a sentencing hearing, and that has not been scheduled yet. They were holding off on a sentencing hearing until after the trial, after she had testified.
Obviously, that lesser charge of manslaughter. We know
Right.
initially she was charged with murder. And we should point out in this case, in the most serious charges, he could face life in prison, but we know they abolished the death penalty in Virginia back in 2021, so that is off the table.
Correct.
So the most he could get
Is
life in prison. What do we know about the fate of Valerie, the daughter who was caught in the middle of all of this and who has lost now both her mother and father?
Right. So with the little girl, you know, she's 8.5 years old now. She was 4.5 when this happened. We're coming up on the anniversary of this. It happened at the end of February in 2023. So she's now 8.5 years old. And what does her future hold for her? You know, her mother is gone. Her father is now facing a possible life sentence. So our legal experts say there will now be hearings likely in family court to determine who gets custody for her. Will it be Brendan's family or will it be Christine's family?
Do we know who has been appearing in court
Yes.
to support, obviously, Christine Banfield and that side of the family? Is it her parents?
Yeah.
Are there other family members there as well?
So we definitely know that her father has been there. I believe her mother has been there as well. Her father was called to testify by the prosecution pretty early on. But, you know, they have both been there in the courtroom. The little girl, from what I understand, has not been in the courtroom in any capacity, which, you know, there's a lot of graphic stuff going on with this. And we know that Brendan Banfield's family, I believe his father and his stepmother have been consistently in the courtroom.
They must have been the ones sitting behind him.
Yes.
We saw them
I think that we
often.
saw them just
Yeah.
momentarily. And then as for his mother, I'm not sure if she has been in the courtroom throughout the entire thing. I know her name has been mentioned a lot, especially when it came to Juliana Perez Magalhaes and when they were talking about who was paying her legal fees. We know Brendan's mother had been paying her legal fees up until when she took that plea agreement, and then that stopped. And then for Joseph Ryan, I can tell you his mother has been watching the trial virtually because she had some health issues. She wasn't able to come up here. She does plan to be here for sentencing. I just sent her a message to see if there's anything she'd like us to mention. And I know her sister has been in the courtroom watching the trial, and she's been watching it virtually.
Okay, yeah, so we're waiting. We should let folks at home know we are standing by for a press conference, presumably at this point from prosecutors and perhaps the defense attorney here,
Right.
the person who represented Banfield.
John Carroll.
Yeah, so take us back to the beginning. I know folks at home, they may not have been following every single detail of this case, but it was pretty graphic in terms of what we learned. We heard the prosecutor side of the story for quite some time, from the very, very beginning, quite frankly. But this time, we got to hear from Brendan Banfield himself, describing that relationship with the au pair, but also his wife.
Yeah.
And that was the only time we actually saw any real emotion from him. He seemed to have smiled as he talked about this relationship. And this really interesting dichotomy between his feelings that he said he had for Juliana versus the feelings he claimed he had for his wife of 19 years.
Right, and you know, he said that he would always return to his wife. He had multiple affairs.
And she did too. He said even though she can't defend herself.
She did too, right.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence, there was no evidence presented from the prosecution or the defense to say that she had relationships with other people. They showed no evidence, and the prosecutor brought that up at the end. But you know, this was a moment where we did see some emotion from him, and I can tell you this is when he's listening to the body camera audio, the audio when police are inside the bedroom with him, and he's watching that video and reacting to that right there. So that was probably the most emotion in terms of crying that we saw from him. But when he was up there on the stand testifying, I mean, when he was talking about the affairs, when he was talking about how him and Juliana's relationship first started, he was almost smirking. So a very weird reaction, one that really bothered bothered a lot of people when we were looking at the comments on YouTube and on the texts we were getting. People were very confused about his facial expressions during all of this.
And we know the au pair, Juliana Perez-Magaliz, will be sentenced on February 13th. We're just getting that news. So that's in, 11 days from now?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we know that she was cooperating. She was a key witness for prosecutors in this case.
She was, but it's important to mention Brendan Banfield was arrested prior to Juliana Perez-Magaliz taking that plea agreement. So for a timeline for you guys, in February of 2023, that's when Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan were killed. In October of 2023, that is when Juliana Perez-Magaliz was first arrested. It wouldn't be until September of the following year, so 2024, that's when Brendan Banfield was arrested. And the prosecutors said he was arrested because of their evidence that they found. Juliana didn't take that plea agreement until a month later in October of 2024. So while she's their star witness, if you will, they said they had a case with or without her. She was just the bonus.
Do we know go ahead.
I was just going to say, the thing that really caught so many people as they were listening to the details here is Christine is dead. They have moved themselves into their bedroom, right? Put pictures in the room, set up as if they're a couple.
And they were a couple.
After this vicious murder.
Right.
The murders of two people.
Yeah, and so Brendan was asked about that when he took the stand, and his response to that was, well, she saved my life. Juliana saved my life. She was a hero. How could you not fall in love with somebody that saved your life? That was his response to that. But so for the timeline there, the killings happened in February. As soon as they were able to move back into the home, Juliana, Brendan Banfield, and the little girl, again, she's 4.5 at the time, moved back into the home, and Juliana testified that a few months later she moved into the master bedroom, and that's where we saw those photos inside the bedroom, her lingerie in the closet, her framed photos of them clearly out on dates, and then there were the love letters that we heard about at length. Love letters where, at points things were not going well for her and Brendan. She was questioning the relationship.
And many of these letters came after Christine was already gone. So these were his profession of love for her. After these murders happened.
Right. Yeah. So all of those letters were from when she was in jail. She was writing back and forth with Brendan, and those letters continued till around when he was arrested in September.
And we know she was working out some sort of deal, right, with Netflix or the family.
Yeah.
And journalists. Apparently, it came out that she had been talking to journalists as well.
Right. So she said that she started to really take the messages she was receiving from producers. I don't know if you would call them journalists, because they were offering her money. Right. They were offering her money to tell her story to only them, and she said that they were her friends. We heard her say at one point, these producers, and they were offering her money, but she didn't think it was enough money to tell her story. So a lot of weird things happening there.
In addition to just the fact that these deaths, these horrific deaths happened, another sort of centerpiece of this is this fetish website and this fetish lifestyle. You talked to Joseph Ryan's mom about his choices, his lifestyle. A lot of people may not know much about this fetish website, but that also is one of the distinguishing things about this particular case that I think perhaps drew a lot of attention to a case that maybe people wouldn't have had on their radar.
I think just the audacity that someone would try, and keep this in mind, Christine Banfield, at one point, she was a nurse who treated sexual assault patients. And so Brendan is accused of setting his wife up for this sexual fantasy role play scenario. They use the language rape fantasy. So you're setting up your wife, who is a prior sexual assault nurse, for that. And it's just raising a lot of questions. When she was killed, she was a nurse at a pediatric hospital. So I think there's that level of, why would you do that? Like, how much, what's going on here?
And that is part of this elaborate plot that we heard so much about. They didn't wake up one morning and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Based on what we heard during this trial, Juliana and Brendan, they've been going back and forth for quite a while to figure out how to carry this out, including visits to the gun range.
Right. So their relationship, it started in August of 2022, I believe. So Juliana joined the family in 2021. In 2022, Juliana in August of 2022, Juliana says that relationship began with Brendan Banfield. She, when she was testifying, did not explain how the relationship started. We only found out how it may or may not have started through Brendan Banfield's testimony, where he said that Juliana initiated it. She was pressuring him. She was making comments about how she had dated or was trying to date people with similar names, similar appearance. So,
which he loved, apparently, when he was recounting that sort of dynamic.
But what's interesting here is that the power dynamic between the two of them was not something that either side really got into. She's an au pair, right? You come to live with someone, right? Your boss has much more power than you have. And so I wonder if that also, in addition to all of these details that the jurors heard, they said, wait a minute, the power really was in the hands of Brendan Banfield in this relationship, not Juliana Margulies. Now, she owns her actions, but in terms of the dynamic of who controlled what, he really was in control.
And I think that goes back to the conversation of the fact that Brendan's mother was paying for her legal fees. So while she didn't speak and talk about the story she presented on the stand when she testified, she was being represented by Brendan's family. She is from Brazil. She does not have family here. So her family is the Banfield family, and so she's kind of stuck there and relying on them. She mentioned how she was relying on Teresa, Brendan Banfield's mother, to pay her commissary, to connect her with her family, to pay for those phone calls. So there's a lot of heavy reliance on the Banfield family, and it wasn't until she took that plea deal that the money cut off, and she then turned to the journalists. But if you want to go back to that plan, they start their relationship in August of 2022. In October is when she says Brendan came to her with this plan, this elaborate plan to get rid of his wife because he said divorce wasn't an option. He didn't want to have to worry about custody of their little girl, and he didn't want to have to worry about the money. And who knows what that means, but he said
Which
divorce was.
a lot of people question. They're like, wait, what? You think this is the better option than just simply getting a divorce?
Right, and that's according to her testimony, right? And I think it's important to keep in mind what the prosecutor said at the end. You may not believe Juliana, you may not believe Brendan Banfield. It's going to come down to who do you believe more in this case.
And we know that all Brendan said in response to these questions about whether or not he murdered his wife was, that's just absolutely crazy.
Right.
That's it.
Those were his words. It is interesting that as they made this case about aggravated murder, which suggests that you are involved, you have planned in some way, you have researched it. But the thing that stood out to me is he knew that his wife had a blood clotting disorder. So if you have a blood clotting disorder and you are being stabbed multiple times, it is very difficult for you to eclipse that, right? Because you already have a blood clotting disorder. He knew this.
And he also knew that she was a prior sexual assault nurse, right? Like he knew a lot of things. They were together for, I believe, almost 20 years. They had been together through so much. They had a child together. They lived in New York. They moved down here for his job, and she came with him and then was able to find a job. That came up during his testimony that she had done a lot for him. And we didn't get to hear a lot about her during this trial, but we do know a little bit about her and what we know and what happened. I mean, it's absolutely horrifying.
Was that by design, though? Did they want to take her out of this a little bit to put more of the emphasis on who Brendan was and who
maybe,
Juliana was?
Right, and they didn't really touch character here, and one of our legal experts, I asked him about that, and he was saying you don't need to go after the character of Christine or defend that. Now, they could have, when they brought up the conversation of how she was having affairs, that was an opportunity where the prosecution could have come up and presented a witness who could have said otherwise, or the defense could have provided a witness that said she was having affairs, but no evidence was provided to indicate that she was. And again, she is not on trial here. At the end of the day, she's not the one on trial. Joseph Ryan is not on trial. It is Brendan Banfield on trial here.
Brendan Banfield on trial, and Brendan Banfield found guilty of 4 counts today. Guilty on aggravated murder of Christine Banfield, of Joseph Ryan, guilty of using a firearm in commission of a felony, and child endangerment.
And we'll have more from this trial coming up after break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Some big news out of the Washington, D.C. area, Fairfax County, Virginia to be exact. A former IRS officer in the Au Pair Affair murder trial found guilty of killing his wife and a stranger. So Brendan Banfield, a Northern Virginia man, was accused of creating an elaborate plot to kill his wife and a stranger so he could start a new life with his family's au pair. We heard from prosecutors this evening about this trial. Let's take a listen into what they had to say just moments ago. Let's take a listen in.
All right. Are we good? You're all good? Okay. Thanks, sure, not a problem. First of all, guys, I just want to say thank you very much for covering this case dutifully and respectfully. There were obviously a lot of salacious details in this case that caused it to get a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, this case is about two people, two neighbors of ours that were murdered almost 3 years ago here in Fairfax County. We take that very, very seriously. And to start off, I just want to thank the great detectives of the Fairfax County Police Department that put in yeoman's work to get this case here. I also want to thank the people in my office that put in hours during the last couple of years, not least of which are the three people standing behind me, Sylvia Villanueva, Kelly Sprisler, and Jenna Sands. You all saw how complicated this case was. A lot of digital evidence, a lot of forensic evidence, and this team behind me put it together in a way that a jury could understand, and they did it with professionalism and skill, the type that you will only see in a modern prosecutor's office like that we have here in Fairfax County. So at the end of the day, I am very, very pleased that we are able to stand here successfully having gotten justice for Joe Ryan and Christine Banfield. So who has questions?
Steve, how would you describe someone who would not only carry out these murders, but make up a story like he did, and then get on the witness stand and tell it again?
It's monstrous. I mean, that's really what it is. It's monstrous. I mean, we are the safest jurisdiction, safest large jurisdiction anywhere in America, meaning we don't have a lot of homicides, but I've been doing this job for a while, and I can tell you that this defendant stood out to me highest above all the other murder cases that we've done in my 6 years here.
Steve, in Juliana's proffer, there were, obviously that was 4 hours long, there was a lot of details, and there was a lot that your office chose maybe not to get into. Talk about what you wanted to highlight for this jury, what you thought was needed to successfully prosecute this case, and maybe some things that you chose not to introduce as evidence.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot in this case. There were a lot of rabbit holes to run down. We knew two things going into this case. The case was about the blood. This case was always going to be in the blood. You heard it right from Jenna's opening statement. This case was about the blood. We knew that before we even charged this case. The second thing is we want it to be surgical. We want it to be in, we want it to be out. We didn't need to go through every single little thing. We didn't want to confuse the jury. We didn't want to burden them, and we didn't want to put them to sleep. What we really wanted is we wanted the high level stuff, and you saw that. You saw us focus on the blood. You saw us use Juliana or have Juliana come up there to give flavor to what happened in that room, and then we used the blood, we used the digital forensics, we used everything else to support that and give flavor to that. So I think we asked for 4 weeks, but as we got into this trial, we realized that we could do it much quicker and much more effectively than if we took off 4.
How important was Juliana's testimony? You have the defense saying she has always maintained backing up Brendan Banfield until the very last minute here, and almost saying that you guys were too tunnel focused. Without Juliana's proffer, I mean, do you think we could have gotten to this result?
I think we can. As a matter of fact, we were planning for it. If you take a look at the timeline of the case, we did not authorize charges against Brendan Banfield until after we got the blood analysis done. That is what we were waiting for. And it wasn't until 2 months after we got the blood and we indicted Brendan for these crimes that Juliana decided to proffer and cooperate with us. So we had planned to go forward with just the blood evidence and everything else, and we felt that even with that, we could have put this case on. Now, of course, as a prosecutor, if you have somebody in the room and they want to proffer, they want to turn state's evidence, you're not going to turn that down. You're going to investigate that. We did that proffer. She told us some things that we had not known. We did check on her story. We felt confident in that story, confident enough to offer her the plea deal that we gave her and put her on the stand as part of our case in chief.
Can I ask Jenna a quick question?
Just briefly.
Yeah, let me get to jury and then I'll...
Did you get an opportunity to talk to Mr. Ryan and Christine's family? What did you say to them?
I have before. I did not get a chance to today, and I'm always very hesitant to speak for the victims' families. I know that it was a very, very emotional day. I imagine that maybe we'll be speaking again in the future, but I hope that this verdict gives them some sense of peace and puts them somewhere on the path towards healing after this tragic homicide.
And Janet, can I ask you a quick question? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
What's your message to Banfield's daughter?
God, I mean, what do you say to a child in that situation? You know, I don't know if I have a message for her, but I have a hope for her. I have a hope that she spends the rest of her life with people who love her and know that there were people in this world who loved her. And I hope that she always carries that in her heart. Now, Bob, you had a question for Janet?
Yeah, Janet.
Yeah, sure.
Take us through the strategy. It was talked about during the trial of arresting her first to get to him.
Sure. Well, there was originally a belief that was born pretty early in the investigation that she was an accomplice of Mr. Banfield's, that there was a plan. As our detectives uncovered more evidence that supported the possibility of the plan, the idea was formed to arrest her based on the evidence that we knew we had, because it would be a successful prosecution, but also with the hope that she would end up seeing the light and coming to us with her story. It was something that we obviously had to wait quite a while for, and to be honest, had given up on at the time that we charged Mr. Banfield. We weren't going to wait anymore. We were providing her with the discovery that she needed to be able to defend herself in her case, and so there was no expectation that she would turn. It was just really happenstance that we were reached out to by her counsel that she was finally ready to talk.
And you had a
mentioned in
chance
your
to question him
closing-
face to face.
Sorry, say
What
again?
was that like? You had the chance to question him finally on the stand
I
face to
did.
face. How do you describe him?
I think that everyone has commented on what was so obvious, that he was not truthful, that he was cold, that he behaved oddly in response to questions that should have elicited emotion, that he never spoke of himself as Christine's husband, that he didn't speak lovingly of his wife, that he showed absolutely no human emotion that we expected to see of someone in his position.
You mentioned your closing.
You took the stand, and how do you prepare for?
Sorry.
You mentioned your closing how he wanted to be with Juliana, and hence the possible motive here. Outside of that, is there anything else as far as why he would commit this?
You know, it's really challenging to try to put yourself in someone like Mr. Banfield's mind, and I don't know that I want to try that hard, to be completely honest. I think that he was obviously hoping for a life with Juliana, and he didn't see a way to accomplish that without executing his wife.
Are you surprised that Brendan took the stand? Do you believe that actually
Yes.
helped your case a little bit?
Yes, I, having been a defense attorney for years, I think I would have counseled against him taking the stand, but, Mr. Carroll didn't have a lot to work with, and at the end of the day, if his client wanted to testify, he had the absolute right to do so.
What was the thinking behind giving Juliana such a sweetheart deal?
So I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a sweetheart deal. She does face 10 years in prison.
All right, so that is a press conference from prosecutors earlier, not long ago, moments ago, from the Au Pair Affair murder trial in Fairfax County, Virginia. So we want to come on with some breaking news here in our area in Landis. So an Amtrak train hits car in Landis. We're getting this from Landis Police and Norfolk Southern Police Department. So the Landis Police Department and Landis Fire Department responded to Ryder Avenue at Main Street in reference to a collision involving an Amtrak train versus a passenger vehicle. And I'm reading this press release from law enforcement. So upon arrival, first responders found the occupant had escaped the vehicle prior to the impact with the train and was unharmed. First responders have advised that there are no injuries involved in this incident, so that's the good news. Again, from what I'm reading here, Amtrak train hits a car there in Landis. As soon as we get more information on this incident, we'll be able to, and we will pass it along to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. So you may hear more about rare earth minerals in the months ahead. They're critical to the U.S. economy and used in everyday tech, from smartphones to military systems. Now they're a major focus of President Donald Trump and his administration. CNN's Michael Yoshida is live for us this evening. Michael, what are these rare earths?
Hey there, Nick. Yeah, when we talk about rare earths in the United States, the thing to know here is we need them, but we don't have a lot of them, with China right now dominating their production. And that's why in recent years we've seen a lot of U.S. foreign policy shaped by these elements.
From Ukraine.
They have very valuable rare earth.
To Greenland.
They're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
Even Venezuela.
You have minerals, right? All the critical minerals.
A recent theme has emerged in American diplomacy.
The start of the Trump administration really marked a new chapter of foreign policy. Minerals diplomacy became synonymous with foreign policy.
Rare earths are a specific set of metals and minerals which aren't all that rare, but they are difficult and expensive to mine and transform into something that can be used in production. Vital to the U.S. economy and national security, they're in things like smartphones, batteries, medical equipment, and even some cancer treatments. Also fighter jets, submarines, satellites, missiles, and more.
Every facet of our national, economic, and energy security is reliant on those rare earths.
Right now, China controls about 90% of the world's supply of refined or usable rare earths, a pipeline China spent years building up.
The question is, will the U.S. do the same?
Over the last year, the U.S. has signed rare earth and minerals deals with countries around the world. But finding supply is only one step. Creating the infrastructure to do something with those rare earths is the other.
Can Trump go like Xi Jinping does on a regular basis to American companies and say, will you invest these huge sums of money into something that we don't know will be profitable for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
And that's obviously a big ask of companies, and why in the last few years we have seen the U.S. government commit more than $1 billion of investments to private companies here in the U.S. that work with these rare earths. Nick?
So, Michael, what are some of the specific things the U.S. is doing to try and address its rare earth problem?
For sure. So when we talk about that supply issue, trying to get access to more of these rare earths, again, over the last year, we've seen all of these announcements of deals or framework of deals with countries like Australia, Japan, Vietnam, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ukraine. So that's trying to get us more of these rare earths. And in terms of actually turning those into the things we need, again, the U.S. government committing hundreds of millions of dollars to different companies here in the U.S. to start building the facilities that we need. And another point to just end on about how critical this is right now. Earlier this afternoon, the Trump administration announcing a new project they're calling Project Vault. This is a $12 billion or so project that would create a strategic reserve of these rare earth minerals here in the United States. Again, this just announced, so a lot of details that obviously need to be flushed out here, but I think this does go to show how important this is to the United States, obviously right now and into the future, and all of the work that's going in to try and counter the dominance that we see from China right now when it comes to these vital, critical minerals.
All right, Michael Yoshida, live for us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We heard from CNN's Michael Yoshida about rare earth minerals. He mentioned that Trump's announcement, President Trump announcing that plan for rare earth elements strategic reserve earlier today. So in case you missed it, we want to take you back there now to the Oval Office.
So what we have with Project Vault is marrying the capital solution with what we need when we need it most. And the best part about it is that the American taxpayer will earn a return on financing the first ever strategic critical minerals reserve in history. And we thank you, Mr. President, for allowing this to happen. All of the people around us today help make it possible. Our cabinet secretaries, our top CEOs, their teams, top market players, whether it be GM, GE Vernova, Boeing, Clarios, Google, Mercuria, especially Brian Fallick, Hartree, Traxxas, our friend Robert Friedland. All of us work together, Mr. President, to deliver this for you, and for the American people, so that manufacturers and workers all across the country can rest assured they'll have what they need when they need it most.
So, and you're covering everything with this. We're not just doing certain minerals and rare earths. We're doing everything.
Everything on a critical
What
list.
about magnets?
We're focused on the critical raw materials, and we anticipate that led by our great manufacturers, will help breed even more solutions.
Great job. Thank you very much. Doug Burgum, please.
Mr. President, again, I want to echo what John said, which is a great thank you to you. You've set the direction, and when you took office, you've done more in the last year for mining and minerals in our country, perhaps than any president in history. Just like drill, baby, drill, you said mine, baby, mine. And what's happened in our country is you've led us through deals with equity deals for the first time. The United States of America is driving equity deals to help sustain and balance this market. You unlocked Alaska with the Amber Road project. That opened up over 1,700 mining claims in Alaska. And of course, on beautiful clean coal, we've got critical minerals that are co-located with that coal, and we've unlocked that. The Biden administration did 0 coal leases during the last 4 years. You've done hundreds of millions of tons of coal leases. That's going to help drive electric prices down in America. Permitting, you mentioned this in your remarks. There was some permits that had lingered for 29 years. They got done in 4 months last year under your administration. And under your emergency authorities, some of these permits got done in as short as 12 days. You helped create a club of nations to help balance out the fact that we didn't have markets that were functioning around critical minerals. You led off with Australia, Japan, Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Thailand. This week we'll announce 11 more countries that are joining that club of nations as part of this global coalition. And behind that in the pipeline, there's 20 more nations that want to join under your leadership to allow for trade of critical minerals. And then here we stand today with the teamwork that was described. This would not have been possible without incredible cabinet that you put together. Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, Chris Wright, and many others were involved in bringing this together through the vision. Standing with us today are some of our chairmen of our great congressional leadership who also have supported this and helped us find a way to do this without any appropriations. This is happening without tax dollars. And of course, our team on the ground here at the White House, including David Copley and everybody else at the NSC, David leading the global supply chain work, the folks working with the EXIM Bank team, working around the clock to make all this happen. So again, when you lead, when you put out a challenge, the teamwork happens. And then here we stand today. This is the largest EXIM Bank deal in the history of the EXIM Bank by more than double. And this is going to help drive national security. It's great for American manufacturers. It's great for American workers. Congratulations, President Trump.
Thank you. You're doing a fantastic job, Doug. Thank you. Could I ask Mary Barra, the Chairman CEO of General Motors, which is setting records every single day, and she's doing a fantastic job, to say a few words and also discuss how good the car business is now in the U.S., please.
Well, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your commitment to strengthening U.S. manufacturing and supporting the auto industry. Also want to thank your cabinet and members of Congress and the whole team here that made this possible today. Having a resilient supply chain is critical for our nation, and it's critical for all industry, especially the auto industry. We have been strengthened with many of the different policies that have been put in place over the last year, so I want to thank everybody for that. It not only supports U.S. manufacturing, it supports job creation, it also supports the consumer, so thank you. And business is held very strong. We still see a strong consumer, so I'm excited about 2026.
I think it's going to be a record with all of your new plants opening up and everything else in our country. So in our country.
Robert?
Please.
Mr. President, thank you so much for what you've achieved. Everything we touch, we either grew it agriculturally, and you've helped the farmers, or we mined it. All these cameras you see in front of you, they were mined. Every time you pick up a hand phone, it was mined. And so stimulating the ability for the miners in this country to help you industrialize the country, they're the salt of the earth, and we're super excited that America is doing something for not only our national security, but for the reindustrialization of the country, because you can't reindustrialize Detroit with a lot of metal. And I'm telling you on behalf of every miner I know, they're elated at the breakthroughs that have been achieved here. They'll make a lot more cameras in the future. And maybe you can help us teach everybody that everything you touch like that, somebody mined it. And we need your support, and we're really happy to get it.
And congratulations, you're in the Hall of Fame. Is that the Rare Earth Hall of Fame or Minerals Hall of
It's a
Fame?
bunch of pictures of dead guys that go back to Herbert Hoover, who was a miner. Mining's down to 1% of the S&P 500, but really everything you touch needs mining. And this is the first administration, with your support, where we've got hope. We can go out and really do it. So, as I last met you in Saudi Arabia with Mohammed bin Salman. We're working in Chile.
Right.
We want to bring these metals back to the United States and refine them and use them right here. And the vision of this administration, Howard Lutnick's been helping a lot. A lot of people at Exim Bank have been helping a lot. I'm just telling you, the morale of the miners is sky high.
Doing a great job. Thank you very much. Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about French Hill? Say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, on behalf of Congress, Chairman Westerman could talk about how he's helped unleash the ability to mine through permitting reform. And Senator Marino and I serve on the House Financial Services Committee and Senate Banking Committee. And we're best in this country when we take the private sector and we leverage it to unleash the directions that you're made. And so together with our reauthorization of the Exim Bank, we leverage that resource with private sector dollars to make this a success, and it's going to be a huge strategic change in America's industrial capacity.
Big difference, right?
Big difference.
There's never been really anything like what we're doing. Bernie, please.
Not to be hyperbolic, but if you hadn't been elected, the auto industry in America would be over.
The
It would
country
be completely over.
The country would be over.
Well, but the auto industry would have been gone first. What the Democrats had done with electric vehicles, the mandates, what you were able to accomplish last year, Secretary Lutnick, what Secretary Bassett was able to do with your leadership has transformed the auto industry. And I tell you, it's never been better for people in the auto industry. I hear it from all my friends. They are elated. And the worst part is that the people that you really saved were the car dealers in California, in New York, in New Jersey, right?
And they fought me all the way, Mary, right? They fought me all the way, and now they're saying thank you very much. But you're doing a great job. Thank you, Bernie. Scott?
Sir, as you always say, economic security is national security, and a country does not have sovereignty if we don't have control of our critical minerals, don't have control of our steel production and our industrial base. And thanks to the work of everyone here through your leadership, this was a public-private partnership that only you could have assembled, and we are taking back our sovereignty, and we are going to have this Vault project, a strategic mineral reserve. And I can't tell you how innovative and exciting this is, and the level of security it is going to give us going forward is phenomenal.
All right, so we'll come back here at home, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. So we heard from Trump before the break regarding the announcement of the Earth Minerals deal. So he took questions following this announcement from media members inside the Oval Office. Let's take a listen in.
Yeah, questions, please.
Mr. President, speaking of the Fed, would you like to see Jeanine Pirro drop the investigation into Chairman Powell to help? Senator Tillis has basically said that he's not going to really be working with the
He's not a
administration
senator
to
very
help
soon.
bring war. So would you like to see the investigation?
No, she's got to take it to the end and see. Look, you're doing a small renovation, and they've spent almost $4 billion doing a small renovation. I'm doing buildings. I built a hotel, the Waldorf it's called, and I did it for around $200 million. It's a much bigger job. They're spending almost, it could be $4 billion. I'll tell you what, I don't even see an end in sight. I feel badly for the new Fed chairman because he may not have an office for 4 years. I don't know what these people are doing. So it's either gross incompetence or it's theft of some kind or kickbacks. I don't know what it is, but Jeanine Pirro is incredible, and she'll figure it out. But no, you want to take it and just find out what happened, because we can't go around doing a renovation of a small little complex, very small, couple of little buildings, and spend billions and billions of dollars on it. Something went wrong. We have to find out what it was. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, thank you. Speaking of renovations, you announced you wanted to build a new and spectacular entertainment complex at the Kennedy Center.
Right.
Do you plan on tearing it down, and how much will all of the renovations cost?
Probably around $200 million. And, it's funny, in real estate and building, I've done so much of it. I've done so well with it. You want to sit with something for a little while before you decide on what you want to do. And, we sat with it. We ran it. It's in very bad shape. It's run down. It's dilapidated. It's sort of dangerous. Things fall out of ceilings. You've seen it. And we had some big events there. We had a lot of great events there over the last year, but you can't do any work because people are coming in and out, and you have the workmen. We have a marble man over there the other day. He said, every time I put down a piece of marble, people are stepping on the marble. They don't even have time to dry. And you can't do the same quality job if you close it, and, we're fully financed. And so we're going to close it. We're going to make it unbelievable, far better than it ever was, and we'll be able to do it properly. I was thinking maybe there's a way of doing it simultaneously, but there really isn't. And we're going to have something that when it opens, it's going to be brand new, beautiful. I'm not ripping it down. I'll be using the steel. So we're using the structure. We're using some of the marble, and some of the marble comes down. But when it's open, it'll be brand new and really beautiful. It'll be at the highest level. And we can do a much better job. Probably in a way a faster job in terms, because when you do it piecemeal, for instance, they have a play tonight and you can't do anything. You have to pull out everything, and you can't have stanchions all over the place and people are walking in to see a play. So we'll be closing it sometime around July 4th.
All right, so that was President Trump from earlier. We're going to get back to that, but we want to get you up to date on some breaking news just into our newsroom. A shooting in Northeast Charlotte. So here's what we have. Not a lot, but here's what we have from Medic. Medic says it transported one person with life-threatening injuries for a shooting near the 4200 block of Merlin Drive. This looks like it is near an apartment complex. There, again, we're still trying to sort out the details, but again, a shooting Northeast Charlotte, 4200 block of Merlin Drive. Medic says it transported one person with life-threatening injuries. Again, we are following this story, and as soon as more information comes, we will bring that to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, let's take you back now to President Trump inside the Oval Office, taking questions from reporters.
In order to do something great for America, and then we're going to build it. We have great contractors. We're going to build it, and we'll do it right. We're using the highest grade marbles, the highest grade everything. It'll be brand new. Tremendous carriers putting in the air conditioning, or I guess they're a bidder, but they're probably going to get it. Carrier. We're going to have all brand new air conditioning, heating. The steel will all be checked out because it'll be fully exposed. It's been up for a long time. But as anybody knows, it was in very bad shape, wasn't kept well before I got there. So we're going to make it, I think there won't be anything like it in the country.
Mr. President?
Yeah, please.
About your meeting with President Petro later this week, he's been quite critical of you since you spoke back in January after the Maduro raid. What would you like to hear from him tomorrow in terms of drug trafficking in Venezuela? What are your expectations?
I mean, he's been very nice over the last month or two. He was certainly critical before that, but somehow after the Venezuelan raid, he became very nice. He changed his attitude very much. So, no, I look forward to seeing him. He's coming in. We're going to be talking about drugs because tremendous amounts of drugs come out of his country, and I look forward to see. We're going to have a good meeting. Yeah.
Mr. President, Steve Witkoff is going to meet with the Iranian Foreign Minister on Friday. What are you hoping he'll get out of that meeting?
Well, you're going to have a lot of things are happening. You have Iran, and you have Russia, Ukraine, and you have the Middle East. We have a lot of things going. A lot of problems were here for a long time before I got here. We settled 8 wars. And I think we're doing very well with Ukraine and Russia. For the first time, I'm saying that. I think we're going to maybe have some good news. We're losing 25,000 people a month are being killed in that war, ridiculous war. 25,000. It was 31,000 last month. Think of it. Young, beautiful kids, the kids of parents, their parents. It doesn't affect us in one way, but in another way, it's 25,000 souls that if I can solve it, we're not spending money like Biden did. He gave $350 billion away. I make everyone pay. And the United Nations, they're a little bit involved, but if you take a look at what's happening, the countries of Europe are paying us for the weapons. So we have NATO paying, we send missiles over there, they pay us in full. It doesn't cost us 10 cents. And we make money, I guess, but I don't even want to talk about that because what I really want to do is save those people from dying. They lose, Mary, can you imagine 25,000 to 30,000 people a month? That's like a stadium full of people every single month. And, I was blessed with something where I can get these things done. Got 8 of them done. I thought all 8 were going to be more difficult than this one. I thought my relationship with President Putin would give us a, much easier road. But there's tremendous hatred between Zelensky and Putin. Tremendous hatred. I mean, it's a shame, but it's taken longer than we thought. I did call up President Putin, and he's agreed. He's put it out too. They have the same cold wave that we do. Maybe different because it's pretty far away, but it's the equivalent. And Ukraine's a very cold country. It's much colder than us. It's colder than, they say, on average, it's Canada or colder. And on top of that, they have a tremendous cold wave. Then I asked him if he wouldn't shoot for a period of 1 week, no missiles going into Kiev or any other towns, and he's agreed to do it. So it's something.
What about Iran's nuclear program? Do you think Mr. Witkoff can get a deal on that?
Well, we're talking about that. We have ships heading to Iran right now, big ones, biggest and the best, and we have talks going on with Iran. We'll see how it all works out.
Mr. President, when did you speak with
Mr.
Putin?
President, the Pentagon released national defense strategy last week, and it says...
Where are you from with that nice
I'm from Europe, from Lithuania, Baltic states. National defense strategy says that U.S. will provide critical but only limited support for European defense. What does that mean, limited support? Will the U.S. still provide...
Well, we get along very well with Europe. I do. Because, don't forget, I got the GDP lifted from 2% to 5%. Nobody thought that could be possible. And they're giving us a lot of that money. We have the best military equipment. We're selling it to NATO. But I get along very well. But Europe has to be careful because, there are those that say it's no longer recognizable between immigration and energy. There's so much potential. In UK, you have the North Sea oil, and they basically closed it down. And then they buy energy from Norway, which is the North Sea oil. So you figure that when Norway's got trillions of dollars. They have to be careful. You need energy, and you can't do the windmills because the windmills, you're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. So I'm very disappointed. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And they have to be very careful. They're at a tipping point. You have tremendous immigration problems, and you have tremendous energy problems. It's a bad combination. So.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Kristi Noem just announced that you're deploying body cameras to Minneapolis. What's your thinking behind this decision, and do you want to see this?
Well, it wasn't my decision. I would have, I leave it to her. They generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if she wants to do that, I'm okay with it. remember one thing, we closed the border. I got elected on a disastrous border, and we have nobody coming in through our border anymore. We had 25 million people come in 4 years through our border. Many of them were murderers and drug dealers and mentally insane from mental institutions and insane asylums. And now we don't have anybody coming in. For 9 months now, I mean, they actually report zero. We have 0 people coming in, which I find hard to believe, but the Democrats do that report. They tend to be left-leaning that do that report. So I assume it's true. And if it's not, it's a very tiny amount of people. But we basically have a tremendously perfect, strong border. And also, crime levels are at the lowest point they've been in 125 years. Since 1900, we have the best numbers. And that's despite the fact that we had a lot of criminals and murderers. 11,888 murderers came in. And we have the lowest numbers that we've had in 125 years. So, we're doing a good job. If she wants to do the camera thing, that's okay with me.
Mr. President, there was one comment by D.C. during January. Do you think this is due to your efforts, and do you think blue states should see this as a sign that they should cooperate with you?
Well, if there was one, I mean, we haven't had one in a long time. D.C. has become a very safe. There was an in-house homicide. It was in-house. It was a dispute within a family. We have had virtually no crime in D.C. D.C. is now considered a very safe place, and it should be. It's our nation's capital. And we sent in the soldiers. I read the Washington Post this week, and it was incredible. They were trying to determine how did we get so low numbers? The low numbers in D.C. because we have very little crime, if any. And they talked about everything except for the fact that we put our National Guard and great soldiers inside our city. They didn't want to mention that. It's how dishonest. Because if we didn't do that, you'd have tremendous crime in D.C. And I get thanked every single day by people that work in the White House. People, young ladies, men, they come up, thank you, sir, for making D.C. so safe. They walk to work now. A year and a half ago, they wouldn't have walked to work. They would have been killed or mugged or something would have happened to them. So it's a great honor, but you got to read the story in the Washington Post. They do it. Crime is way down in D.C. Now, what's the reason for it? The reason for it is we have very big, strong, good-looking soldiers standing around. And I think they make the place look better. But this is our capital, and we have a very safe capital. We had a very dangerous capital before. Yeah, please.
Sir, yesterday you said you were speaking to people about Cuba to reach an agreement. What sort of agreement are you hoping to reach? Is that with the Cuban government?
Well, it's a failed nation now, and they're not getting any money from Venezuela, and they're not getting any money from anywhere. It's a failed nation. Mexico is going to cease sending them oil. So I'd like to take care of the people that are here from Cuba. You know, we have many people that came from Cuba that were thrown out of Cuba or that fled Cuba. I mean, they came over on rafts. They went through shark-infested waters. I don't know how they did it. And it was many years ago. Many would like to go back. Many would like to at least visit their relatives. And I think we're at a pretty close point. We are dealing with the Cuban leaders right now.
Mr. President, the Wall Street Journal reported that the royal family of Abu Dhabi invested hundreds of millions of dollars in your World Liberty Financial. Can you explain why you decided to take that investment? Was that a transaction?
Well, I don't know about it. I know that crypto is a big thing, and they like it. A lot of people like it. The people behind me like it. My sons are handling that. My family is handling it. And I guess they get investments from different people, but I'm not. I have all I can handle right now with Iran and with Russia and Ukraine and with all the things we're doing. So I don't know exactly, other than, I'm a big crypto person. I'm the one that probably helped crypto more than anybody because I believe in it. And the reason I believe in it is because if we don't do it, Scott, I think we can say then China's going to do it. Right?
Yes, sir.
If we don't do crypto, then China's going to do it. And it's just like AI. We're leading AI by a lot. And if we weren't leading, China would have led. They're very capable. They're very good. What do you have to say about that?
You've made America the digital asset capital of the world. We did the Genius Act for stable coins. Many of the people standing up here are working on the Clarity Bill to
I hope that gets done.
Market structure.
Yeah.
And we're bringing U.S. best practices to an exciting new industry, digital assets, innovation, and it spreads everywhere. So the U.S.
And do you agree that if we didn't do it, China and others would, but China would?
Oh, China would have had the lead, and then others around the world in terrible jurisdictions would have been doing it.
And on Iran, sir, can you say what your threshold of military action is?
Well, I can't tell you what I'm going to do because right now, we have a tremendous force going there, just like we did in Venezuela, even bigger. And they'll be there soon, and I'd like to see a deal negotiated. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I mean, if I knew, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't tell you. I'd be very foolish if I would tell you. But right now, we're talking to them. We're talking to Iran, and if we can work something out, that'd be great. And if we can't, probably bad things would happen.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
On the government shutdown, do you think there could be a resolution to this issue? And have you gotten assurances from House Republicans?
Well, I spoke with Speaker Johnson. I spoke with Leader Thune. And I think they're pretty close to a resolution. We were at 5.6% GDP, and we lost 1.5 points because of the 42-day shutdown. Think of that. We would have been at 7. Nobody ever saw a number like 7. And I think, Howard, probably 1.5 points was the number, right?
1.5 for the shutdown. Exactly right.
And it's very bad for our country. But despite that, we have the highest numbers we've ever had. We're doing well. We're going right through it. But I will say that I spoke with Senator Schumer numerous times, and I don't think they want to see a shutdown either.
Mr. President, are you going to sue Trevor Noah? Last night in a post, you alluded that something could be coming.
Yeah, well, he said that I spent time on Jeffrey Epstein's island. I didn't. I mean, he's a lightweight, this guy. He's a terrible, I think he's terrible. I thought he did a terrible job at the Grammys. I thought the whole Grammys was terrible. I watched part of it. It's not watchable. But he was a lousy host. I'd say not as bad as Jimmy Kimmel, but pretty close. And no, he made a statement about me and Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, if you look at the DOJ, they announced, they released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do, because that whole thing has turned out, I mean, other than Bill Clinton and, Bill Gates and lots of people that there are a lot of questions about it, but nothing on me. But it was even sort of better than that, because they found that Jeffrey Epstein and this sleazebag writer named Michael Wolff were conspiring against Donald Trump to lose the election. So Epstein was conspiring with a writer for me to lose the election. So right there, you know that I had nothing to do with this guy. But yeah, it's a terrible thing. The amount of time that's being wasted. When Epstein was alive, like 10 years ago, nobody cared about it. But they're only doing it. But now it's really hitting back on them because Bill Clinton is such a big part of it. The Democrats are pushing it. And the problem is that it's turning out to be the Democrats that were with and conspired with Epstein. So I think you're probably going to see a little pullback from them. But think of it. They were working together to try and help me lose the election. But this is the Oval Office, so I guess that didn't work out too well. Okay, one more question.
Mr. President, do you have an update on U.S. troop level in Europe? Are you planning any force reductions?
No, we have a great relationship with Europe. We have a great relationship with our troops. One of the best things that I can say is that if you go back a year and a half ago, so I'm running for election, they had the worst recruitment numbers in the history of our country. Nobody wanted to join the military, or nobody wanted to join the police. Nobody wanted to join the fire departments. We couldn't get anybody to be a proud member of our country. And now, Doug, as I told you before, now we have the best recruiting numbers that we've ever had in our military. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force we love, and Coast Guard. I love the Space Force. It's doing great. But now we have waiting lists on everybody wants to join. You know why? Because people are proud of our country. Because our country is doing great. I think Mary can say the same thing. You had lots of people not working so well, and now you just wish you could get them in faster. I know that it's hard to get them.
Yeah, we continue to bring people in and have training programs. We're
Right.
investing in the U.S.
Training
workforce.
people.
Yes.
But 2 years ago, you didn't see anything like this. It's amazing what's happened. So we have the number one, in the history of our country, we've never had more people that want to join our armed forces than we do right now. And a year and a half ago, nobody wanted to join. They were embarrassed by our country, they were embarrassed by our leadership, and now they're proud of our country, and they're very proud of our leadership, and a lot of the leadership is right behind me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's head out. Thank you, press. Thank you, camera, for going. Thank you, press. Start moving. Thank you, press. Let's go.
All right, so that's President Trump from earlier answering questions from reporters. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So the weekend disappearance of Today co-anchor Savannah Guthrie's mother is now being investigated as a crime, according to Arizona authorities. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, was last seen Saturday night inside her home, which is outside of Tucson, Arizona, according to a missing persons flyer. She was reported missing by her family around noon Sunday, according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. Let's take you now to a press conference with more on her disappearance and this investigation.
We'll get started. I believe it was around noon yesterday, we got a call to the Guthrie residence that Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, was missing. We expended a lot of resources for a missing person that we typically always do. Our search and rescue volunteers, our search and rescue teams, other agencies, Borstar from Border Patrol sent their canines out. They worked tirelessly all day yesterday and all day tonight. I'm sorry, all day yesterday and all last night. To no avail. As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime, and we're asking the community's help. This community has always stepped up to help us solve some pretty tough crimes. I'm looking for that again. This is a 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal. So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen something, heard something, to contact us. Call 911. We don't need another bad tragic ending. We need some help. Our team is the best. I couldn't speak any higher. I think you know that. We have done some great work with our partners in the Valley. You know, this community, I have to give a lot of thanks to our law enforcement agencies all across this valley, whether it's the Tucson Police Department or some of the smaller agencies. They've all reached out. They've all offered to assist. The FBI, all of them. We work so close with them, and they are all plugged in. We'll continue to work closely with them. But what I really need is I need this community to step up and start giving us some calls. Let us know if you've seen something. We are right now at a time, and I apologize, everybody tells me I talk too softly. We are at a time where, in this investigation, we're now moving forward where we need to depend on technology. You know, our license plate readers, our camera systems throughout the community, anything, everything. And we will download all that data we have from the home, from different pieces of technology we've gotten, and we will use that to our advantage. But the reason I bring this up is that, you know, I'm a cop. I hate politics, but I have to remind our political leaders that they need to quit this banter of every time law enforcement leaders come to you for a need, that you give up these ridiculous remarks about how it's going to be misused. AI is a bad, evil word. The cameras are very bad and evil. I'm tired of that. Those tools in the right hands with the right minds and the right approaches are extremely valuable to solving crimes just like this. We need this. We need more staffing. We need a lot of things. But what I really need is I need the community's help with this. So I want to make sure before I take any questions, it is a crime scene. We know that. She needs her daily medication. And anybody that sees anything that even looks, hey, maybe that's her, just take a quick picture. Take a video, send it to us. The number is real easy here locally. It's 911. You can contact our 88 Crime and remain anonymous. You can call me, anybody. I am here to take any questions you may have. It will be a little limited. I apologize for that, but we do have a crime that we need to protect its integrity. I have here Sergeant David Stivers from our homicide team. He has been up all night, so bear with us if we are a little bit fuzzy in our answers or responses, but we're both here for any questions you may have. Let's start, please.
Recognizing your limitations, but can you elaborate at all on what makes you believe it's a crime scene as opposed to someone who left home and just couldn't find their way back?
Well, I think I told you she is very limited in her mobility, right? We know she didn't just walk out of there. That we know. There are other things at the scene that indicate there was she did not leave on her own. We know that.
If you don't have plate readers, is there a vehicle associated with this?
When I told you we're now at the phase where we're looking at all the technology, all of that is being evaluated as we speak. Let me say this: we've not just thrown our search and rescue team out there. They are going to be doing some door-to-door with our criminal investigation team. It is not just our homicide unit. All of our criminal investigation detectives. I went out last night to the scene. There were probably 100 cars out there, all from the sheriff's department, all working this case. It takes a lot of manpower and a lot of energy. This team of mine worked throughout the night. They continue to work. David's had zero sleep, but he and his team are working as hard as they can.
Is there anybody else associated with her, a caregiver, family member, acquaintance, who is also missing and somebody?
No. The family, all of the family has been very cooperative with us. They're working with us. They're staying in touch with us. They have complete access to anybody on this department. Savannah has been in touch with us as well. Our hearts go out to them. This is their mom. She's, just a great lady from what I've heard, and I feel for the family. We just want to find her and bring her back safe.
Sheriff, you mentioned that she didn't just walk out, but is there any additional information that you can give us on what may have alluded to this being a crime scene?
I wish I could. I really do. I know that everybody wants to know certain things, but I can't do that for it would be inappropriate at this time.
Are there any signs of breaking and entering or any forced entry, anything like that?
I again don't want to get into that. David, can you see anything here? Do you?
At this time, it's still a very active investigation. There were circumstances on scene that we believe are suspicious in nature, I think is the best way to put it, but we can't really get into a whole lot of details with that.
Do you believe that this was targeted, or they just happened to hit Savannah Guthrie's mom, or if this was just random?
We don't know that. We look at all of that, but we just don't know that.
Do they have cameras at the home?
They do, and we're looking through some of that. Yeah.
With this being an active crime scene, is there any threat to the general public?
I'm trying to figure out my phone. Well, no, I don't think there's an active threat, but I hate to say that because, we're going to canvass that neighborhood and maybe there's a prowler been seen around. There's a lot of work still to do. We don't have any indication that that the public is in danger.
And what does that search look like today beyond what you've already told us about last night's search?
So we have shut down our search and rescue mission, and we've sent them home to rest. They were out all night. Look, we put all our air assets into this, our drone systems, our aircraft, our helicopters, heat sensors, infrared, everything we've had, we've thrown at this. They're going to step aside. We'll call them out again if we need to do more searching. But right now, we don't see this as a search mission as much as we do a crime scene.
Sheriff, can you tell us a little bit about that map?
That is, and David probably can better answer it than I, but that is our search patterns, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So with all the assets that we deployed yesterday with the search and rescue teams, the map that's on the screen is basically tracks that were followed. Those are all the colored lines are all ground tracks of different teams and different assets that were used on the ground, to include the canines, the volunteers, and our own search and rescue team. The circles are going to be representative, if not necessarily perfect, of our air circulation with both our helicopter and our fixed-wing aircraft at night, working with the night time cameras. So difficult to see where the house is. This house is basically pretty close to center in that, and then all of the searching that went on throughout the day with those folks out there on the ground.
What this really helps with is our search teams, when they come back and reassess, maybe they've missed an area, we can look at it and say, hey, you know what, this area could use a little more coverage, and so they concentrate again. Our search and rescue team is top notch. They're out every single day. If it's not a lost person, it's a hiker, it's somebody who's wandered away from a care home, whatever it may be. I want to stress to you, right, and it is really important, Miss Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie, is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack. The family wants everybody to know this isn't somebody who just wandered off. Her physical limits are based on just age, and we get old, and so it's more physical. But clearly, she is as sharp as a tack.
Do you have her cell phone, and does that present any tracking potential?
We're looking at that as we speak.
But do you have it, or do you not?
We do have it.
Can you give us a little bit more of a timeline? Because you said she didn't leave on her own. She was last seen at 9:45. She wasn't reported missing until noon. But
I believe what happened there was at 9:45 in the evening, her children left her off. At some time earlier that morning, they got a call from somebody at the church who said, hey, your mom's not here. The family went to the house. I'm thinking they spent some time looking for her themselves before they called us, so I'm guessing maybe they got there around 11. So they did some searching and realized we need some help, and they called 911.
do you have any idea what time Nancy would have been taken from the home?
There's a lot of things working there, and I just can't say that right now.
Has Savannah Guthrie, has she had any threats to herself at all?
We've spoken to her. We'll continue to work with that. She has a security team that's been in touch with us throughout the night. But we're not going to dismiss any angles for sure. But right now, immediately, we don't know of anything like that.
Is she in town or on the way here?
She's here.
Can you give us any more? What should somebody be looking for? Because when I was out in the neighborhood, the neighbors are obviously incredibly concerned. But is there anything, a tip? I mean, one neighbor stopped me and he didn't know if he should call you or not. And so
my goodness.
But so what should somebody be looking?
Well, first of all, I'd ask them, go through their cameras. Go through their Ring cameras, whatever cameras they may have. Don't dismiss it that, oh, well, we really can't see the house. They still might see something. Maybe it's somebody walking by. Maybe it's a vehicle driving by at that time of day. But go through all your cameras in that neighborhood and tell us if you see something. Maybe somebody already, we know this happens, right? Oh, I saw something suspicious, but I didn't think it was worth calling in, so I didn't call it in. Well, now it's call in anything you've seen or heard. Maybe it's a neighbor telling you, I saw this or I heard that. Call us. Don't tell the neighbor to call us. Tell the neighbor to call us, but you call us as well. We'll put it together. We'll get, trust me, I'm sure we're going to get inundated with a lot of calls. We'll handle that.
Did she live alone?
I believe, yes, she did, yeah.
Were there any caregivers who are normally associated with her?
Well, she has house staff that comes by, takes care of the yard, whatever, in her house and that. But those people we'll be talking with and have talked to some of them already.
But nobody who's like a live-in or anything?
Nobody actually lives with her, no. Like I say, she's of great sound mind, and she is mobile. It's just, it's a challenge for her to get, as the family says, she couldn't walk 50 yards by herself, so.
Anybody else?
Somebody asked about the FBI.
I'm sorry.
Somebody asked about the FBI if they're involved.
We, like I said, we work closely with all of our partners, whether they're the FBI, ATF, ICE, whoever. We know that they have certain capabilities and certain resources, just as we have certain capabilities and resources. So yes, we'll continue to work with them, and they've offered assistance to us. We accept that assistance, and we offer assistance. But just last week, the FBI called us to handle a shooting that involved Border Patrol. You need to know that. That's just day-to-day routine work for the law enforcement in Pima County in Tucson. We work very closely with our partners.
With the amount of time that's gone by, how wide do you cast in the net? Statewide, national?
Well, yes, national for sure. I'm hoping the national media's picked up on this. We've gotten a lot of reports, but statewide as well, with Amber Alerts, things like that. All of those things we use. Every tool we have, we will use.
Very good.
You guys are too easy. Thank you so much. I apologize for being late. I apologize for my political rhetoric of the Board of Supervisors or the City Council. I just get so frustrated, and we just can't do this job without their support. We don't need political statements from the dais and mumbo jumbo. We need them to listen to their law enforcement leaders and really pay attention to the fact that we understand that there's a great potential for abuses in today's world with the technology that's available to us. But you have to, at some point in time, have some faith and trust in your leadership in the law enforcement community to know and understand that we too were elected here to provide a service to our community. I can't think of a community in this planet that wouldn't tell you, number one is public safety. Everybody just wants to be able to know that they can go outside and enjoy their community and come home and be safe at night in their rooms, asleep in bed. And this lady wasn't able to accomplish that. That's a sad statement. We need her back. We need to find her. And time is very critical. She is 84. She needs her meds. Her family needs her too. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, let's take a step aside and let's go to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. All right, so snow is still on the ground. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, well, at least for this week as things start to warm up. Our friends in Eastern North Carolina, man, they were blanketed with snow, and they are still dealing with it. Not only did they deal with snow, they dealt with some fierce winds out there. Of course, we have to bring on to the show Sam Walker, OBX News. Sam, are you hanging in there, man? How are you doing, dude?
I need a sleep, man. These last 2 weeks have been long. Even though we didn't get much on the first one, it just feels like it's just not stopped since 2 weeks ago.
Well, Punxsutawney Phil is not helping our case.
No, he's not. They dragged that rat out of the log up there in Pennsylvania this morning. All this, they're sauced up. Anyway, we'll go there. We'll bring back Sir Walter Wally. That's who we want. We used to have a groundhog actually at the North Carolina Aquarium out here in Roanoke Island at one point that we used. But yeah, he 6 more weeks of winter. No, I'm done, man. Let's go. I want to shovel some 80 degrees and sunshine instead of shoveling ice and snow for the last 2 weeks.
I'm with you, man. I guess let's start from the beginning, man. So once this storm rolled in over the weekend, what have you guys been facing ever since?
Now, it's been kind of a unique situation out here because Corolla got 10.5 inches. They were the winner of the big lottery for the snow this week. And the Outer Banks got, anywhere from 4 to 10 inches, even a couple of spots, maybe 11. But you wouldn't know it, and I'll tell you why you wouldn't know it. If anywhere that was exposed, it all blew off because it was so cold and so dry, that dry snow. So it really didn't have a chance to accumulate in a lot of spots. It was blowing just like sand. So if you go back in the dunes, you go back in the woods, you go back on the side of your house, there's 4, 5, 6 foot drifts in some places. It's amazing the size of the drifts that we got out of this. But then you can drive right down the road, and I live out on the end of a causeway here. There wasn't a bit of snow on the road, but as soon as you get anywhere there was woods, there's snow everywhere. So that was one of the unique aspects of it. The winds played a huge factor in the snow, but also just a huge factor of what has happened here on the Outer Banks. We've had traffic signal gantries that had to be brought down because one of them was out dancing during the storm. We had 64-mile-an-hour wind gust right nearby at Jeanette's Pier in Nags Head. The DOT had to take that down today because it had broken 4-inch thick bolts that were holding it together. They had to take that down. And then we go down to Hatteras Island, and once again, we're talking about house collapses. We've had 4 falls since Sunday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, including 3 last night today. It's high tide. We're pretty much right on high tide right now. There's 2 more in Buxton. It looks like they may go at any moment. So we've had to deal with that. We had 3 feet of sand pushed on Highway 12 on Pea Island. Between Oregon Inlet and Rodanthe. We had 3.5 feet of water come in off the Sound in Hatteras Village and 2.5 feet in Frisco. We've had just about every impact you can imagine out of this storm. And again, it's going to go in the record books, not only before the numbers, but just the things that have happened with it. We're going to be talking about this one forever, just like we've talked about 1989 and 1980 snowstorms.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you didn't just say snowstorm, I would have thought we were in August right now, the way you were talking about. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I want to, and you know what, you bring up an interesting point. Yeah, a lot of times we would be talking about tropical systems doing this. Nor'easters actually are more damaging for the Outer Banks. They have much more impactful features from them. They're usually longer duration than a hurricane. In the rare instance of maybe you go back to Florence and how it just sat over southeastern North Carolina and crawled its way in. That's a rare occurrence of the tropical system. Nor'easters behave like that much more often. And that's what this was essentially a nor'easter, a coastal storm. Winter coastal storms actually have greater impacts, again, because they're long duration. We get more of them, and sometimes they can be more powerful overall impacts than a tropical system because they're bigger. There's all kinds of weather reasons why they are, but we more concern ourselves. Yeah, we know we're out here on the edge of the continental shelf and get hurricanes, we get tropical storms, but it's during the winter. It's really during the fall. You think about from September until May is nor'easter season. Those can be more impactful, and a lot of times the impacts we've seen in previous storms like this have taken out houses, have closed Highway 12, can't run the ferries to Ocracoke for days, all that stuff. Then throw in the fact that it's been sub-freezing for a week, you just add a whole nother level to it. So that is one thing about it. Yeah, you're right. This sounds like stuff you would say in August and September. Out here, it's more December, January, February, March, April. We talk more like this because winter storms can be more impactful.
You brought up the nor'easter in '89. What is this system, this nor'easter from this past weekend? What is this? If you had to go back, can you compare it to anyone? I hate doing the compare game, but just to kind of give people some context on how historic this storm was.
Well, yeah, and that's what we do, and we talk about, this one could be like previous storms, but they all have their own unique characteristics. They're all different. This one probably is more different just because of the sheer wind field that was created and the strong wind field. And the fact that it was more blizzard-like conditions than we've seen with other storms. We haven't seen the winds topping out at, like I said, wind gust of 64, sustained at 50. And especially over a long period of time, those winds really cranked up starting about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday and did not let up until probably about noon on Sunday. Really, the peak was overnight. And some of us slept through it, but a lot of people didn't because you're on a house that's 10 foot high off the ground you're on the Outer Banks. So it's on pilings. They move. They shake. They make noise when it blows like that. So there's a whole memorable part just saying, man, that house was really rocking last night. That is part of it. So to compare it to those previous storms from the snowfall aspect is pretty easy. But this one really had more of a wind impact, I think. And that's what we'll probably be talking about as we go on in the future. Yeah, we got a lot of snow, but that wind impact. We've cleaned up a lot faster, I think, too, from this one. This sunshine really came out today and really helped get the main roads cleared off. But again, that wind helped blow a lot of that snow off a lot of roads, so it was a little easier. Our bridges were clear. Now, if you go out here right outside my house, and I can hear there's a duck and goose and swan party going out on a big sheet of ice out here with this full moon we got tonight. It's actually pretty cool out here on the Currituck Sound. But the sounds, man, there's sheets of ice on them. Still not thick enough to walk on. But our waterways are pretty clogged up, chocked up full of ice right now, which is very unusual when, for an extended period of time, but it does happen.
Well, Sam, I was sending your tweets and videos to family and friends just to kind of give them an idea. I was like, hey, you might want to check on cousin so-and-so, auntie so-and-so out there in Eastern North Carolina. Sam, my friend, stay safe, man. We'll check in with you soon.
Sounds good, Nick. I appreciate it.
All right, Sam Walker, OBX News. Check him out on social media. Check him out on samwalkerobxnews.com. Good stuff there about Eastern North Carolina. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. So there's a bit of breaking news into our newsroom within the last several minutes. So a fatal crash investigation in the University City area. Here's what we have from CMPD. So here's what this press release reads. Detectives with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department's Major Crash Investigation Unit are conducting a fatal crash investigation on the 7700 block of North Tryon Street, inbound from Clark Boulevard to Brookside Lane. Is currently closed, and they're asking folks to please avoid this area and seek alternate routes. Again, CMPD investigating a deadly crash along North Tryon Street. So this is North Tryon Street inbound from Clark Boulevard to Brookside Lane, which is currently closed. And again, they're asking folks, if you're planning on going through this area, just seek an alternative route or routes to get where you need to go. So we'll continue to update you not only here on WCNC Plus, but inside our mobile app, WCNC Charlotte mobile app. And speaking of the roads, look, troopers and DOT crews have been working hard to make sure folks are safe and make sure crews who are working are safe. So we got a chance to check in with South Carolina Highway Patrol about what they're dealing with and their advice for drivers who have to drive. I know a lot of you saw a lot of stuff on the highways start to melt off, but a lot of side roads still have that slush on it, and then we got to worry about that refreezing in the morning. Let's take a listen into that interview with South Carolina Highway Patrol.
Who's not thinking about the weekend on a Monday? That's right. It's what gets you through on a Monday. Here at 101 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So wrapping up the second wintry event of the month. Well, what? Yeah, we went into Feb 2 in a row, right?
It's kind of blending together right now.
It really
Jane,
is.
I'm
It's
not
just
gonna
become
lie.
one icy, sleet-like, snowy weeks and weekends is what we are dealing with. I want to let you know we are confirming Anson County schools are on remote learning tomorrow, Tuesday, due to unsafe road conditions. That just coming in. Also, Burke County schools confirming all will be remote for students and staff tomorrow. So there you go. All right. So with this weekend, the Charlotte Metro saw record snowfall, and of course that affects our Carolina, South Carolina. South Carolina Highway Patrol troopers working around the clock as well. Joining us today is Master Trooper Hannah Davidson. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. How are you? How are you hanging this weekend?
Good afternoon. We're doing good. We're making it.
Yeah, I know. We are making it is the way to say it. Give us an overview of how this weekend went for South Carolina troopers.
We keep the mentality always could have been worse. I believe most people listened to what we had to say, and it wasn't quite that bad. We had about 131 collisions in our Troop 4 area, which is 7 counties that we cover in Troop 4. And then we assisted over 90 assist motorists. So aren't bad numbers, that they could have been a lot worse than that.
Yeah, what is the usual call volume for a weekend then, and how does this compare?
It was about average, really, for the number of collisions. Now, the assist motorists were up because most of these collisions that we responded to were just vehicles that spun out into the snow and couldn't get back out. So we didn't consider that collisions. We considered that assist motorist.
Oh, okay. So that is the most common type of incident. Again, we talked about this like the weekend before because of the ice. So this was similar types of driving conditions for you?
Yes. It was mainly just people just spinning out, going a little too fast in the snow. Thankfully, we didn't have any serious collisions, not very many injuries, and thankfully no fatalities.
Oh, that is good. What are drivers doing wrong in this weather? What kind of mistakes are they making out there?
A lot of people, and actually most people, don't know how to drive on black ice. That's the biggest thing, especially early morning hours. As soon as they hit those ice patches, they kind of freak out and slam on the brakes, what any typical response would be. And then a lot of people don't know how to steer the steering wheel. They want to jerk it. So those are the bad things to do. You're just supposed to lightly tap the brakes and then steer the steering wheel the way you want it to go instead of jerking the wheel. So that's why you see a lot of spin outs and a lot of car cars and ditches.
All right, now that we're on, again, the other side of this weekend storm, we are seeing black ice that is melting right now, but then the refreeze tonight. What do you want folks to know as they navigate the rest of this week?
Just take it slow out there, have patience. A lot of the back roads, our secondary roads, are still very icy. So just when you leave your house, know that there's a possibility for black ice. Of course, a lot of times you can't see it until you're already on it. So just remember to slow down and take your time.
All right, Master Trooper Hannah Davidson, thank you for coming on the Live Impact news stream with us with a little bit of a debrief for the weekend. Doesn't sound like it was too bad.
Not too bad.
All right. Take care. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Actually, we're going to stay right here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Soderman. Thank you for staying with us here. That is an interview from earlier with Highway Patrol in South Carolina. So we want to get to a breaking news update. We mentioned this during our newscast this evening. So there was an officer-involved shooting under investigation in Newton. So here's what we have from Newton Police Department. So I want to read this press release they just sent us. So the subject involved in the officer-involved shooting has been identified as 18-year-old Amon Jameer Ali Henderson from Salisbury, North Carolina. Henderson has since been released from a Baptist hospital. The Newton Police Department was not notified prior to his release. As a result of the investigation, the Newton Police Department has obtained multiple warrants for Henderson's arrest. The charges include 2 counts of second-degree burglary, which is a felony, possession of a stolen firearm, which is also a felony, and resist public officer, which is a misdemeanor. In addition, Henderson has several outstanding warrants from CMPD issued February 1st, which was yesterday, and those charges include breaking and entering, to terrorize or injure, larceny, assault by strangulation, domestic violence, assault on a female, assault by pointing a gun, communicating threats. Henderson is to be considered armed and dangerous. Anyone with information regarding his whereabouts or encounters him is urged to call 911 immediately. And they are urging members of the public not to approach him. This is still an active investigation. So that is a breakdown. Again, just to kind of fill you back in, if you're just now listening, the subject involved in the officer-involved shooting has been identified as 18-year-old Amon Jameer Ali Henderson from Salisbury, North Carolina. Henderson has since been released from Baptist Hospital, but according to the Newton Police Department, they were not notified prior to his release. So he has multiple warrants for his arrest in Newton, also outstanding warrants here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. And he is considered armed and dangerous. So if you know anything about his whereabouts, call 911. If you see him, call 911. But they're asking you, Newton Police, law enforcement, ask you not to approach him. Again, 18-year-old Amon Jameer Ali Henderson from Salisbury, North Carolina. This is information from Newton, North Carolina. Newton Police Department sent that to us, and so that is breaking news here into our newsroom. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. I mentioned it earlier. Crews are out. They are making sure these roads are clear. A lot of the main road, let me not say a lot, main roads and highways that we've seen and that I've seen have cleared. But again, there's a threat for black ice. Also, I've been hearing secondary roads and streets, secondary roads in my neighborhood, still got that slushy stuff on the road. So be careful. That stuff is going to refreeze overnight into the morning as you get ready for work or if you have to go out and about. So we talked to NCDOT about the work and what they've been dealing with. Let's take a listen in to the interview from earlier.
Like we've been talking about, record snowfall blanketing the Charlotte metro area this weekend, burying roads under several inches of snow, and this on top of ice for a lot of folks. The North Carolina Department of Transportation deploying crews, of course, all over the place. So we have Jen Goodwin joining us this afternoon as we touch base with you. Jen, good afternoon to you. How are you after this weekend?
Hey, Jane, I'm pretty caffeinated, but otherwise pretty good. Hope you're well.
Same girl. Caffeine under the eyes, caffeine all over. Give us an overview of the weekend and compare this to the weekend before.
Oh gosh, it's almost the same in terms of pre-treatment, putting down brine solution to get the roads kind of giving them a little preventive barrier against any ice or bonding to pavement. I guess the biggest difference is the use of cut and shove crews, where we were concerned last weekend with the significant ice accumulation of settling on limbs and then maybe limbs hanging and falling on power lines, and we were worried about having to cut a lot of limbs and shove them out of the road. With this, it's more plowing and salting and trying to get travel lanes passable and navigable for traffic. So all throughout the day, Saturday, as soon as it started and as soon as there was measurable snow on the ground, the plows were out. The plows were out all weekend, and they're still out now. And we've been working with contractors all around the area, doing rotating 12-hour shifts. And the interstates are looking pretty good as of this morning. I think we had about 70% clear. So they're working on trying to clear ramps and shoulders and gore areas where there could be piles of snow and where there could be areas where freezing may occur. And working on primary roads where those are the NC and the US routes, and then those heavier secondaries, and then back to the lower volume secondaries, and then finally the neighborhoods. And I know this is a multi-day effort, because it's not something that's going to take a day or 2 days to clear. We're talking maybe towards the end of the week, possibly, if we continue to see temperatures that aren't very warm. It is warming and melting some, but then anything that melts and doesn't completely dry freezes again. And then we have the black ice that is a hazard in the morning. And we have to watch out in shaded areas and bridges and overpasses, and any areas that didn't get any treatment or may not see as much traffic. So main roads might be great, but your neighborhood streets might still be a skating rink.
Yeah, that's exactly what a lot of our own folks are experiencing ourselves. Any supply challenges then? Because, one weekend after another.
Yeah, it's a national problem. The salt need, the salt demand is all over the country, with these storms that continue to not affect just a small area, but the storms that we've had recently, some have affected 2/3 of the country at one time. So, and then the cold temperatures and the little melting doesn't help either. So it's not a challenge unique to us, but we've been smart about being wise with the resources that we have, and we have plenty that we got through this event, and we still have some here. We're not out. I know there have been a lot of stories circulating about not having anything at all, but that's not the case. We do have salt on hand, and we are working with suppliers that are vendors with NCDOT to try to get more. So we do have enough, and we are shifting resources even internally as we're able to to share what we have and to be able to use it to get those roads clear. So we're still in good shape.
Yeah, that sounds good. You know, we saw I-85 with that major pileup in the Kannapolis area. I don't know if you could lend some insight on 85 itself. It seems to be one of those culprits for real trouble spots. You know, is there something about 85 that we just see wrecks happen there?
So it was kind of like not 100 cars that were crashing into one another, but it was like they were stuck and didn't have anywhere to go. But it.
All right, so you can check out that full discussion with Jen Goodwin with NCDOT here on WCNC Plus, and thank you for joining us tonight. A lot that we got to, a lot of ground that we covered. Again, for updates, head to our website, WCNC.com, also on our mobile app, and we'll catch you at 11 o'clock. Have a great night.